This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome into episode number 57 of Tiger Talk with Chirco and Company. I am your host, Vito Jerome Chirco, alongside the doc from Doc and Jock, John Macaroon. John, what's going on today?
Afternoon, Vito. Right now, the Tigers are in a very important series versus the Minnesota Twins, coming off of a disastrous series loss to the Baltimore Orioles. I was in the house for Friday night's game. It was an awesome game, highlighted by Victor Martinez's home run. It was epic. I was maybe 15 rows back behind home plate, and it was a great series start, but in the end, they faded in the last two games. And right now, as we sit recording this podcast, one game behind Baltimore. Can't wait to hear your take on the week that was for the Detroit Tigers on this, you said, 57th edition. Let's do this, baby.
57 episodes almost down. We'll be down by the end of this podcast edition, Doc. And we have to look, I think, really quick at this past weekend, as you said, where they blew a chance to win a series where they should have, well, could have, should have, would have, right? Over the weekend against the Orioles. It was a big-time series, a playoff series, really, with so much at stake because of the fact that the O's and Tigers are both going for the same thing, one of those two wildcard spots in the American League. And they blew it, Doc. Now, they got it done Friday. As you said, you were there. You saw the victory. You're like the good luck charm now, right? So they got it done for you, Doc, because you were in attendance. But Saturday and Sunday, Jordan Zimmermann blew it. And Sunday, they had a chance, even Sunday, they did, to come back to win that game. So they blew their chance.
And in Friday's game, it was such a microcosm of what we've seen all year. You had the lead. Alex Wilson comes in. I immediately tweet. I'm like, okay, how many pitches before the lead's given up? Rather quickly, he gives up the lead.
And he blew it. He was doing well before that outing, though.
Well, lately, Alex Wilson hasn't been productive. Shane Green hasn't been that productive. And where our seats were, actually, it was very interesting because I looked up and the seats where I was sitting, I was directly under the suite of Al Kaline and Al Avila. And Al Avila was intently watching right around the seventh inning stretch. He was standing. Al Kaline was standing, being invested, watching what was going on the field. Immediately when Alex Wilson gave up that hit to tie the game, they both sat down. And everyone was booing. Everyone was like, seriously? But Victor Martinez actually came in and saved the day.
He did.
That game, he was struggling. And he had a majestic home run. And it was just it was nice to see Victor contribute. Miggy didn't have a great series versus Baltimore. All around, though, when you look at it, when you looked at the scoreboard, the huge scoreboard out there at Comerica Park, you notice, my goodness, Baltimore has some guys that can mash the hell out of the baseball. There's guys, multiple guys in that lineup with over 20 home runs. And you go, wow. To win that first game, it was nice, but you knew it was going to be a super tough series. The Tigers needed to play their best series versus Baltimore to get those wins. And Jordan Zimmermann didn't provide it, and Justin Verlander was okay, so-so, but in the last couple games, the offense just didn't do the job. And what did we ask? What did we say last week? How does Justin Upton do in that series versus Baltimore? Now, against the Cupcakes, great, you can mash the hell out of baseball. If you look at his stats versus Baltimore, not that great. The big hitters didn't do as much as they could have in that series versus Baltimore. But that's the past. I'm looking forward to this week versus Minnesota. You could definitely do some damage. But you do get a sense, and it's okay to sit here and say it, Baltimore is a better team than the Tigers. Top to bottom, bullpen, starters, offensive threats and weapons, probably you would argue manager.
Manager, I would say for sure, Buck Showalter. So
Baltimore's better. If you're going to outplay Baltimore, if you're going to maybe tie them and have to play them in a playoff, it's going to be tough. You have to play basically the whole lineup, top to bottom, has to play a complete game. And if you don't, Baltimore's going to beat you.
They had a chance to win Friday and Sunday. The problem for me is with Saturday, starting Jordan Zimmermann. Him starting didn't give the Tigers a chance to win that ball game. And a must-win series, really. Almost a must-win, as much of a must-win series for a 3-game set that the Tigers have had all year long leading up to that point this past weekend. And they blow it by starting Jordan Zimmermann, who wasn't ready. He told reporters, told media last Wednesday he wasn't good to go for Saturday. And then Ausmus, or should I say Brad Ausmus, has the audacity, the goal to start him Saturday. Against the Orioles of all teams who mash, had 3 30-plus home run hitters, a guy that had 40 and Mark Trumbo, all those big-time clubbers in their lineup. And they didn't have a chance, Tigers. They didn't have a chance to start on Saturday.
Where did you hear that he said he wasn't ready? Because
Jeff Rieger tweeted it out, and I read his tweet. It was from last week, from last Wednesday. He told media members that he wasn't totally good to go or confident in his abilities to start coming up. So he knew he wasn't 100%, let's say. Now, he thought he could be effective. Nobody thought he would be that not effective. But he's really your least effective arm with that being said right now, and you have him start against the Orioles of all teams, and then he gets rocked. He allows 6 runs on 3 home runs, only pitches 1 full inning, Doc. That's all he could muster out of himself Saturday against the Orioles. Come on. Then you had to win that start if you're Verlander on Sunday. All that pressure on his shoulders, on his right arm to win that ball game on Sunday, and he was the least effective he's been in a while. But you can't get on Justin Verlander too much because he's been so good leading up to this past Sunday. He was due for a lackluster start. He just had it at the most inopportune time going up against the Orioles on Sunday.
So who do you blame for the performance? Is it the Tigers organization's fault for not recognizing that their star player, a guy that you're counting on, it looks like the Tigers organization doesn't know how to handle injured players, because if you have a guy like Cameron Maybin, he comes back, he re-injures himself. You got a guy like Jordan Zimmermann. He's been on the DL now 2 consecutive times. Do you start to question what's going on in the Tigers management organization in terms of evaluating injured players? Because that Jordan Zimmermann game could be a very costly game, and it's very important right now with this many games left. I believe 19 games or so left in the regular season. Each and every performance is going to be heightened from here on out. You can't really make a mistake like that, especially this late in the season. I probably blame Avila more than I would Brad Ausmus. If he's told by the trainers and Kevin Rand, who's in charge of everything, that this guy's ready to go, don't you think then that they go to Jordan and go, hey, what do you think? Is he just going to give the standard just to be, professional? It's up to the organization to really determine when this guy's ready to go. If he's not.
But he told cameras last Wednesday, Jeff Rieger from 97.1 The Ticket tweeted it out last week, that Zimmermann said he wasn't 100%. He told media members that. How doesn't Brad Ausmus find out about that? How isn't that message relayed to Brad Ausmus? Now, it starts with the front office, in my opinion, about Al Avila allowing Brad Ausmus to have to make that decision to start Jay Zim or not. And to allow Ausmus to have to do it, I blame Avila. I blame Avila mostly, but Ausmus still had the intel, the knowledge, to know that his man, Jordan Zimmermann, wasn't the man to start on Saturday. Not in that situation against the Orioles in a series you wanted to win when you're at home and against a team that's fighting for the same wild card spot, for the same chance to get into the playoffs as you. When you're neck and neck like that, you got to start your best starting arms at that point. Not a guy who's been weakened by injuries and is not the same starting pitcher. And over his last 10 starts, counting Saturday now, Doc, Jordan Zimmermann has recorded an ERA of 8.23 in his last 10 outings, counting Saturday's dismal performance against the Orioles, which has elevated now his ERA to a season-high mark of 4.94. That is not getting it done whatsoever. So I blame Al Avila and Brad Ausmus for making the choice to start Jordan Zimmermann on Saturday. It was a choice he should not have made, and they should have known better to not allow Jordan Zimmermann to go out there on Saturday not being 100%. It should have been where they allowed him to throw another simulated, or just to throw a simulated game. Why couldn't he have done that? Now, the minor league season is done. AAA Toledo doesn't have any more rehab starts for Jordan Zimmermann to make because they're done playing this season. But how about a simulated outing? Why didn't they allow Jordan Zimmermann to make that simulated start there on Saturday instead of starting against a big league club in the O's? If he would have gone that simulated route on Saturday, well, then they could have started him against the Twins, against a weaker opponent in the Twins, who you want to see a guy come back from the DL and start against. You'd rather see Jordan Zimmermann come back and pitch against the Twins than a team like the Orioles, who mash and mash all the time because, with the injury past, the lackluster results out of Zimmermann before that start was made on Saturday even. You should have known better than to put him out there and really hang him out to dry. And as I said, I blame Al Avila and Brad Ausmus for that decision being made. But now you have to move past it. And Zimmermann will be making a simulated start on Wednesday. He would have been starting Thursday, by the way, against the Twins. And now we have Mike Pelfrey going instead on Thursday against the Twinkies. And we know about the Big Pelf struggles in the rotation. But he started all right. His last time out, July 31st it was, so a long time ago since he last started a game in the majors this season because of injuries himself. And now he's going against the Twins on Thursday. So you almost have to have the series wrapped up before Thursday's game because you don't know what you're going to get out of Mike Pelfrey at this point in the year.
Exactly. That's why I would really love to talk to Tigers management, Tigers brass, and go, what are you guys looking at? If you just go to Zimmerman's previous start on September 5th, he gave up well over 5 runs in Toledo. He wasn't that sharp.
Yep.
And so that qualifies you to come right back to the majors and pitch versus the Baltimore Orioles when you're in a playoff chase. It makes no sense. It's a big-time mistake, one that you wouldn't think the Tigers would make. Now you got Pelfrey, and you go, oh, my goodness. When we were talking before we started recording, I think it's going to be likely that we're going to win 3 or 4. And then you squash that point, and you say, John, you got to pay attention, Doc, in that the Tigers, they're going to throw out there Sanchez on Wednesday and Pelfrey on Thursday.
Back.
Pelfrey, Sanchez.
Those guys back to back. The worst case scenario for the Tigers, for fans, for the team itself. And now you have those two guys to have to hope upon for getting results, productive results done. 2 games in a row. That might be what it takes to win the series. And you got those two going back-to-back days. I don't like the odds of the Tigers as much, obviously, going into the series now that you know Pelfrey is starting. But who would you have started? If you're not going to start Zimmerman, they shouldn't right now, right? He might be out for the rest of the season and probably should be at this point. So who would you start then in his place outside of Mike Pelfrey? Because you're already using Sanchez, and I like Sanchez more than Pelfrey. So you got to start the big Pelf unless you're intrigued and enamored by Buck Farmer.
No.
And we don't want him. Isn't it anybody but Buck Farmer at this point? I think it's anybody but Buck Farmer, to say the least, and maybe anybody at this point than Jordan Zimmerman. We might be at that point in the year where it's a lost season for Jordan Zimmerman at this point.
Man,
what do you think?
And it started off so promising, too. A guy that we signed to a massive contract. Everyone was talking Cy Young. All of a sudden, he goes down with injury, and you go, no, this is the worst possible time, especially when Justin Upton started to emerge. You really could have used a reliable starter and one that was effective. Now, if we get a bum version of Zimmerman, now you can't consider it. You have to go, you know what? You have to appreciate that Boyd and Norris have come out and really stepped it up in his absence. And you probably are going to really have to watch what Jordan Zimmerman does closely the remainder of this season. And you might not get him, you might not get back the Jordan Zimmerman that we're all accustomed to seeing. It's not cool to see a guy that you're paying $20 million getting rocked like that, especially when it's basically from here on out, it's must win. So it's a tough, devastating injury, one of many that we've had throughout the course of the season. Now you have Maben up and down. Castellanos still hasn't come back, although we're hearing that he's starting to take batting practice. You had JD down for a little bit of a stint. So it's just a tough situation when a guy that you're counting on goes down with injury. Not a lot of teams can rebound from that. But I do have a little bit of hope in that Minnesota looks to be a team that's mailing it in. They have massive turnover in their front office. Management isn't that great. The players are really kind of just, playing out the string. And you just hope that you go in there, and even though you're throwing out there Sanchez and Pelfrey, that you can go out there and dominate a lesser team, because Baltimore is going to have a tough time playing the Boston Red Sox. So I'm pretty confident that the Tigers are going to at least show up for these 4 games. Otherwise,
they better be showing up every single game from here on out. There's no excuses at this point for Brad Ausmus, for the club as a whole. They got to get it done against the Twins. Win 3 out of 4, as you said, and I think they still can. And you know what? I'm going to say they still will, because they're facing Kyle Gibson, Tyler Duffy back-to-back nights. They should beat both of those guys. With Matt Boyd Tuesday, it's on him big time now to win, because you have Sanchez starting Wednesday, Pelfrey on Thursday. Sanchez, though, has had a 2.70 ERA in 2 September outings leading into his start on Wednesday. So he's done well in September up to this point. And a 4.15 ERA in 2 starts against the Twins this season. So not horrible against the Twinkies, but not great either. Now, how about Mike Pelfrey? Now, were you wondering, fans out there, people listening, doc yourself, about what Mike Pelfrey had done against the Twins leading up to this point? Well, he has a 6.75 ERA in 2 starts, a 6.75 earned run average in 2 outings against the Twinkies this season. That is not cutting the mustard seed in or getting it done whatsoever. Pelfrey has to be better than what he has been against the Twins thus far in his 2 starts leading up to his start on Thursday now against the Twins in the series finale. The thing is, I think they lose that Thursday outing, that Thursday game, because Pelfrey's making an outing. Because he's the guy that's been assigned to start that game. And with his recent past too, you can say, to a certain extent, because he started twice against the Twins this year. So with that past in mind, and the 6.75 ERA in those 2 outings against the Twins this year, you can say, well, they're not going to get it done then on Thursday with Pelfrey on the mound. But can they win the first 3 games to be able to win the series? I think they can, and I think they will.
Now, in baseball, you know, and I know, sometimes you got to get lucky, and that maybe other teams might be hit by the injury bug. You hear about what happened over there in Cleveland. Danny Salazar is going to be injured for now. The reports are 3 to 4 weeks, and so he was likely the number 3 behind Corey Kluber and Carlos Carrasco. But he put up some solid numbers over there in Cleveland. He was 11-6, 3.87 ERA in 25 starts. Cleveland lost their opening game series versus the White Sox. So as we're recording this, the Tigers are 6 games out of the AL Central lead. And you got to remember, we're playing Cleveland 7 times, and everyone's kind of poo-pooing the fact that, well, we're not likely to win just based upon the previous, series results. But I do think that in crunch time, these Tigers do tend to step up. They're up and down, but I do believe when the fire's the hottest, that series versus Cleveland, you're likely going to see the best that the Tigers have to offer. Is it going to be good enough to match up with Cleveland? It might not be, but what's going to have to happen, and you're seeing it, everybody around town that's commenting on the Tigers sees it, the manager has to make better decisions. I think that a lot of people are questioning, is Brad Ausmus utilizing that bench in the proper fashion? And I think you said it, and you brought up a point to me in saying that why is Steven Moya kind of on the bench? Has it been used in situations where you need a pinch hitter? Why is it that Brad Ausmus is pulling out guys at certain times and people are disagreeing heavily regarding his choices? But versus Cleveland, everything has to be going right. First base coach, third base coach, they have to be sending the guys at the right time. You can't have base running mistakes. And the Detroit Tigers, when you play the Cleveland Indians, you're going to have to play solid baseball. And then, finally, Miguel Cabrera can't be an offer.
Well, hitting into double plays in vital situations. All the DP balls this year out of Miguel Cabrera against the Orioles this past weekend. Overall this season, way too many. And we know he's slow on everything. But don't hit the ball on the ground then. Come on, there's no excuse for that out of your best slugger, right? The best right-handed slugger of this generation. So he's got to do better. Vimar's got to be more consistently productive and hit more big-time hits in the 8th, 9th innings of ball games, 7th, 8th, 9th innings of ball games. Because really, outside of that home run on Friday night to win the ball game for the Tigers, in a game look at it now. We're all glad that they won that game because they didn't win any other games against the Orioles. So it's great they won that. And Vimar came through in crunch time there. He hasn't really done that. Hadn't done that leading up to that point and has to do it more consistently now because we can't go in these long stretches where Miguel Cabrera and Vimar aren't coming up with the big timely hits in late inning situations. And really quick, to your point about Salazar, and then I want to talk about Moya too being used off the bench more often and maybe even getting a start here and there going forward. Well, first and foremost, Danny Salazar. Now, he was actually struggling though. He was struggling before going on the DL now with the right forearm injury. And he will miss the next 3 to 4 weeks. That means the rest of the regular season. They might keep him out for the rest of the season, including the postseason, that means, because he's just not ready to go. And he had spent 15 days on the disabled list in the month of August. And in 5 starts since being on the DL in August, he had gone 0-2 with an 8.05 ERA. Think about that. Not very good, and had never pitched more than 5 1/3 innings in any of those 5 starts that he had made since coming off of the DL in August. So he wasn't doing that well leading up to the month of September and in recent memory. So really, even though the Tigers might be saying behind the scenes and us as fans are saying, well, they're lucking out by not having to face Salazar going the rest of the way in their head-to-head matchups with the Indians, well, Salazar wasn't very productive himself, though, before this DL stint that he will now be going on here and will miss the rest of the season because of. So they're lucking out, but maybe not as much as we thought as Tigers fans, as people just that have covered the team now all season long too, and have looked at the Indians from afar. And moving on to Moya. You brought up Steven Moya. He should be utilized more often in pinch hitting situations. Why not? Why are you utilizing Casey McGee off the bench? Okay, instead of Steven Moya. Moya has an 803 OPS this season with the Tigers. Now, in only 27 games, that's a small sample size. But McGee, not many games played with the Tigers himself, and he doesn't have an OPS nearly that high. And you're using him with 2 outs Sunday against Zach Britton, the best closer in baseball, not only in the American League, but in all of baseball this season. Look at his numbers. Okay, his ERA peerless. He is deadly in that 9th inning role as the Orioles closer. and you allow Casey McGee to pinch hit for Eric Ibar, how are you even upgrading? You're barely upgrading by putting McGee in over Ibar. I'd rather have Ibar in, who's a better contact hitter maybe at this point in his career than Casey McGee, who's been in the minors, went overseas at one point, and has been a middling ball player, a middling offensive performer since all that has occurred for Casey McGee. So he's no longer a guy you can count upon, rely upon, and he's proven that in his short stint with the Tigers this season. And you still have the goal, the audacity, Brad Ausmus that is, to use him in that situation in the ninth inning, 2 outs in the ninth, Sunday against Zach Britton of all closers. That made absolutely no sense to me, Doc, for why he utilized Casey McGee in that pinch hitting situation and not Steven Moya, that big, powerful bat that you have on the bench that can run into one maybe. And with 2 guys on in that spot in the ninth against Britton and the Orioles, you could have won the series. Had a chance, much better chance to win the series with Moya up there who could hit a home run than the light-hitting Casey McGee, who I can't trust at all going forward this season, Doc.
Vito, you made the point that every fan is looking at, what the media is looking at as well, is that does Brad Ausmus give you the confidence that he can make the right choices at the right time? Exactly. I look and I go, why is Casey McGee playing at all with that batting average? He's not helping the team. And you go, well, that's the guy they pegged to replace Castellanos. And you go, well, if that's what's considered your best option, you're in deep trouble, because he's an automatic out, and he's a guy that, as you can see why he's bounced around Major League Baseball. Why did he end up landing in Detroit? He hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. And you just go, well, anybody else, who's the next best option? It's not somebody else that you're not going to plug Romine there. He's a great, his role is a defensive stopper, and he comes in and makes some plays, but you're not going to put him in there game in and game out. Who are you going to play besides McGee right now? Who was it when he was sent down that took a spot? Jacoby Jones.
Remember, Jacoby came up, did all right, did aptly. I mean, did much better than Casey McGee, too, for a short stint there, though.
And we did an over-under, a big Vito's over-under,
yes.
And we said, let's set it at 240. So look it up while I discuss what's been going on with Jacoby Jones. He's a guy that not a lot of people are talking about anymore because he's been dominated in recent appearances, and he hasn't looked good. I mean, he's been up there striking out, and you're starting to see that, hey, when you're a prospect, that's why you have to kind of taper expectations. There aren't too many situations, Vito, where guys come up and just start crushing the baseball and dominating the major leagues. It's a progress. It's a progression. You have to show success in AA. You have to show success in AAA. And then you come up, and then you got to adjust to these pitchers, because you got to remember, the other guys are getting paid too. Their job is to look at film, and Jacoby Jones wasn't lighting it up in the minors. He was a prospect, but of course you come up when nobody sees film on you, and you get a couple key hits, and it's nice, but there's been thousands and thousands of guys, and there's a lot of guys that have come up, had early success, and they're no longer playing because they were, as we hate to say, flash in the pants. So,
yeah.
So I see
Jacoby Jones. I looked it up. Let's see.
What's he at?
The average with the Tigers. Well, it ain't good. 222.
Ta-da!
And you got that right.
Ding,
Can we
ding,
both
ding.
go with that though? I don't think I didn't go above 240 either.
No,
that was a good, I think, placement right of the average where it could be. I think best case scenario. But we both went with the under. And I think at this point, wisely, I don't see him hitting much better than what he has hit up to this point at 222. Now, Casey McGee. Okay, this is a guy that was overseas, I believe, in Japan after the 2012 campaign. And then he bounced back, jumped back into the major leagues with the Miami Marlins in 2014, had a good season. But was it that great? A 1.1 WAR, not great, 712 OPS. And that was his best OPS mark in the last 3 years. So 712 OPS, that's a guy. That's the best you can get out of him. Not even close to that, and hasn't been close to that since. A 538 OPS in 2015. A 505 OPS. That's not even minor league good. Not even minor league caliber. And you have him pinch hit for Eric Ibar instead of Steven Moya, who has an 803 OPS with the Tigers this season. That makes no sense, once again, whatsoever, in my mind or in any realistic baseball fan's mind that has watched the Tigers from afar or up close. So I can't give Brad Ausmus any benefit of the doubt, and I still can't trust Brad Ausmus. He hasn't earned any more respect and or trust from me at this point because of decisions like that, to use a guy who's a light hitting third baseman. I mean, that's the best he can do, and that's the best Ausmus you can do, is putting him in to pinch hit for Eric Ibar in that situation against Zach Britton? You really think Casey McGee is going to hit Zach Britton, a guy that has hit .231 this season, has a .505 OPS, and only had a .538 OPS last year in 109 games played? So what has he really proven to you to, gain your trust? He hasn't done anything to gain your trust. So just a boneheaded mistake. And maybe they probably weren't going to win that game on Sunday against Britton in that situation. But you got to give yourself a better chance at it. And the way to do so is by utilizing Steven Moya in the ninth in that situation. And the thing is, will he start using him more often? I don't believe, nor do I trust in Brad Ausmus to start wisely using Steven Moya in those situations in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings off the bench, as he should be going forward. And against the Indians, you got to really have all your cards right in the deck, all the cards lined up the way that you want to, and in a very wise fashion. I don't think he has all the cards that he should in his deck lined up in the fashion that he should at this point. In so many words, I don't think he's going to wisely utilize and or strategize in the way that he should with his batters, and strategically placing guys like Moya in the lineup and coming off the bench in late inning situations. I don't think he's going to wisely and or strategically utilize a guy like Moya in the right fashion going forward. And against a team like the Tribe, against Terry Francona, you can't make these boneheaded mistakes. Having Casey McGee go up against Brian Shaw, Dan Otero, those late inning options of the Indians, against their closer, Cody Allen, against Andrew Miller, who's utilizing multiple roles out of the Indians' pen in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. And he's just that guy he's the guy that can be utilized in any situation, really in any kind of tough situation with guys on. When you need an out, you use Andrew Miller. And you really think Casey McGee is a guy coming off the bench cold, that can get a hit off of Andrew Miller? Come on. He puts out all the fires, Andrew Miller. All those relievers in the late innings for the Indians have been really solid this year. And you really think Casey McGee can get timely hits against those guys, starting and or coming off the bench, and coming off the bench cold as guys do off the bench? No. And that's why I can't trust Ausmus. I can't trust McGee. I would rather have Moya in those situations, and I can't trust Ausmus to wisely utilize Moya in those situations.
Yeah, when you look at Steven Moya's 96 plate appearances, it looks like he's got a .511 slugging percentage. Why do you think Ausmus is continuing to use guys like Tyler Collins out there instead of a guy like Steven Moya? What do you think the reasoning is? If we try to put ourselves in the organization's shoes and what Brad Ausmus is thinking, is he just thinking that Tyler Collins is a more reliable defender or brings more intangibles? Why do you think Tyler Collins is getting the nod in some situations over Steven Moya?
So we have to put ourselves in his clown shoes now and stupidly make decisions? Am I calling out Brad Ausmus a little bit? Yes, I am. But yeah, Collins, why is he playing him instead of Steven Moya? Okay, now, Moya can't play center field. But with Cameron Maybin healthy, Maybin's playing center field. So you have Collins then in a right or left field. So when you're going to start Collins, how about you start Steven Moya instead in the corner outfield, where he can play not great defense. We know that's his biggest downfall right now. But it's about running into one in the late innings. And these must-have games against the Indians coming up, against all these teams, which are all must-win games, as we said, as we near the end of the season. So for the Tigers to best have a chance to win enough games to get into the playoffs, I think you need Moya inserted into the lineup every now and then, and or at least used off the bench. But do I trust Brad Ausmus in doing so going forward? No, because I don't trust him, Brad Ausmus, as a manager. He's not a high-quality and or quality even in-game manager right now, even in his 3rd year on the job with the Tigers. And you still can't count on him to make the right decisions and to strategize correctly. And at this point in the season, you need him to make the right decisions and to strategize correctly with the lineup, with the bullpen, with all the moves that he makes during a game, before a game, and then even after a game and going into the next day. I can't trust him in doing any of that right now as the manager of the Tigers. And that's why he should be dismissed at the end of the season. And if they don't make the playoffs, I believe there's a high likelihood that he will, Doc. And I hope that high likelihood is true as well for Alavila. I hope he holds that same sentiment about Brad Ausmus and the Tigers, if they don't get in, about what they should do with Brad Ausmus.
All right, Vito, I know we've said and we've commented a lot about some things we don't like about Brad Ausmus. Is there anything that's caught your eye regarding any strengths that he's shown or any improvements that you've seen? I know that it's easy to look back in hindsight and to complain about decisions.
Are we complaining right now?
Oh,
We're
yeah.
not complaining at all.
It's still above 500 team. They're in contention. They're dealing with a roller coaster situation. Is there anything at all that you've said, okay, we can start to see that he's improving a little bit in terms of maybe keeping the ball club together? Do you feel like the team is rallying around him, that they still believe and respect Brad Ausmus? What would you say? What would you say are some of his strengths?
Nada.
No strengths?
I'm going to say this. I'm not even a great dancer, but I'm a better dancer than he is a manager. Did you get that one? Do you like that?
Oh, that's not bad.
I'm a better dancer than he is a manager. I'm a better mathematician than he is a manager. I could do better with the stats, with the math, the analytics, than Brad Ausmus is currently doing with the Tigers as the Tigers manager. Brad Ausmus is a faulty in-game manager. Every decision he makes is one that you can just critique because it just don't look right, and it doesn't turn out right because he's making the boneheaded decisions in these late inning situations when he should know better by this time in his tenure. Third year of his tenure as Tiger skipper. And he's still making the same old dumb decisions. That's why his nickname, his last name, should be should be Ausmus. That's his nickname, and that should be his last name right now. Should no longer be Ausmus. And he should no longer be the skipper at the end of the season because of moves like he made Saturday starting Zimmerman, which might have been influenced, we think was influenced by Alavila. But also on Sunday, not putting Moya in when he put in Casey McGee. Okay? A guy that his best OPS in the last 3 years has been a 7.11 OPS. That is Casey McGee. And the best WAR he's put up is 1.1. That was in 2014. That's a long time ago now for a guy that wasn't very good before that either. So for me, are you going to start making the right decisions now? Do I trust in Ausmus being able to do that? No. I don't think he's capable. I don't think he's competent enough to make the right decisions going forward. Because if he was, Doc, I think we both agree that Moya would be used much more often, to say the least.
All right, let's take a quick timeout, regroup, come back, talk about the calf strain to Justin Upton, what we can expect from him, going forward this week. A look ahead to the weekend series, and a look ahead to what we can expect from the starters and the bullpen in the second half of the Tigers Talk podcast. And you got some trivia for the doc?
I do, about Ian Kinsler. And we'll be right back here on episode 57 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. Hey guys, it's Vito Chirco here from Top Cat Sales in downtown Royal Oak. Looking for team apparel for your club, sports team, or corporation? Then look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak, between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan quarterback John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the very highest quality and the very best service. So get your organization, get your school or club team all in with Adidas today by going online to TopCatTeamSales.com. Once again, Top Cat's website is TopCatTeamSales.com. And remember to follow Top Cat Sales on Twitter at Team Top Cat.
All right, Vito. Yes, sir. Great commercial timeout. Very good. Regrouped. It got me to thinking as you were doing the spot, the doc visited Company 512. And I was like, okay, I'm going to, things were a little bit slow last Friday. I was busy in the morning time, and I'm like, you know what? The schedule lightened up. I had a couple hours free, and I'm like, I'm going to go support my man Vito and go check out what's going on there at Company 512 in Royal Oak. So I make my way down there. And I'm expecting to meet up with you and maybe get a little discount on some gear because I like the three-stripe life. I'm an Adidas fan. I've been a guy that likes Adidas. I have the shoes, and I was kind of just looking for a light jacket kind of thing. And so I went in there. The service was great. The young lady that was there was very helpful, kind of directed me to what I was looking for. And so I did make a purchase. It was awesome. I got a light, I learned what it was called. I got a tracksuit jacket.
Yes.
An Adidas tracksuit jacket. It was cool, very, reasonably priced, around $50. But I was disappointed you weren't there. How could you not just wipe away your schedule, knowing that the doc is coming to frequent your store? I sent you pictures of what I was looking like, and how could you not be there? Plus, I could have used extra employee discount. Do you get discounts or something like that?
First and foremost, you look like a bona fide stud in that tracksuit, so I'll give you that much, and I'm not trying to creep on you. Okay, so I'm not like that here. But I get a discount, 50% off all Adidas gear, by the way, in the store,
15?
off the website, adidas.com, 50% off.
50?
Off all the Adidas gear, yeah. Now, the other stuff that's in the store, like Made in Detroit, very cool stuff, it's not as much of a discount. I don't even know what the discount exactly is for that non-Adidas gear, but yeah, 50% off. So if you would have been in the store when I was there, I could have really hooked you up with a big-time discount.
Dang, Vito, you should have told me that because now I'm going to be hitting you up. No, I was just kidding around. If you know me, I'm a little bit thrifty, and saving $20 would have been nice. I could have bought some lunch or something.
Are you thrifty because you're cheap? Because I think Adam Strozinski has come out with that before and called you out as that. Is that true?
Listen.
'Cause I'm not saying it myself, by the way. You know that.
No, I'm not thrifty at all. I'm not thrifty. What I am is smart. I'm economical.
Shrewd?
I will research, and if someone says, hey, instead of paying $50, you pay $25, why would I turn that down? So I'm definitely going to blow up your phone because I do want, I picked up a light blue one. The black one didn't fit. So I was like, oh man, but you told me that you're going to take care of me. And I was made to feel welcome there at the store. Maybe they knew who I was or what was going down, but Company 512 in Royal Oak, they treated the doc nicely. Great Adidas gear. They had state gear. It was great. They had a state jacket, but they didn't have my size.
What size are you?
I am large in the tracksuit, but a large Michigan State didn't fit, and there was no extra large. The large was very tight, and they didn't have no green extra large Spartan jumpsuit. I could have walked away with like a $150 bill there. It was
that could be pricey. A lot of good gear, but they serve you well. Customer service is great. They have everything. Adidas Originals. They have that line of great Adidas gear. It's all there at Company 512 in downtown Royal Oak. And you were hooked up by Company 512. You will be by me in the future as well with my discount. And how about the Tigers being hooked up recently by Bruce Rondon? How about your boy Rondon being more effective, being more trusted upon to be used in high leverage situations? And I think wisely so. I'm turning a page and starting to trust Bruce Rondon. He might be the most reliable guy now, outside of Alex Wilson, outside of K-Rod. And I think even more reliable, maybe by a tad. Well, no, I'm not going to say it. He's not even more reliable than Alex Wilson yet, but he's more reliable than Justin Wilson, more reliable than Shane Green, who didn't look the best on Monday night once again against the Twinkies. And Rondon was used, though. He came in for Shane Green, got the final 2 out to the 8th inning, and then K-Rod shut it down in the 9th. And he still allowed 2 walks, by the way. That is K-Rod in the 9th inning Monday against the Twins. K-Rod always makes it a roller coaster now. But your boy Bruce Rondon got a K, can throw that high velocity, and is getting it done more and more effectively. And, well, I think we have to start trusting him more now. And even though you've been this fanboy since day one, now I'm starting to trust him as well, Doc.
You call me a fanboy?
You are about Bruce Rondon. You love this guy, the big arm, the high velocity. You are so enamored, so turned on by that Bruce Rondon and his high velocity. Let me say that.
Okay, I'll admit I'm a fanboy.
You are a little bit, or a lot of it, right?
Because listen, when you look at the bullpen, and you look at starters, what did Dave Dombrowski want to, preach, and what kind of guys did he bring into the organization? Guys that were flamethrowers, guys like Justin Verlander, guys that he thought could come in there and really throw strikes. So he put that out there in the ether and the universe, and I kind of caught on. And a closer for the Tigers that could hit 3 digits, my goodness, and a guy that could stay on the field, relatively speaking. We got used to it with a guy like Joel Zamaya, but he couldn't stay healthy. He had a rash of freak injuries, and his career flamed out. But Bruce Rondon comes in, even after his surgery, comes out and still has some success. So, hey, if he can emerge and he can do some things, do you trust him? Remember, we said that bit's over. We don't trust anybody. I want to do it again.
Who do we trust now? Do you trust anybody?
Nobody.
I can tell you trust nobody. And from that tweet from last week, that was a wise tweet. And the time that you used it, because we were trusting Alex Wilson, remember that? I was, at least. Then he does what he does Friday night. Come on, Alex Wilson. You were my guy. And now he's no longer the guy as much. But still, who do you trust right now? At least a little bit. You like the closer, right? A little bit in K-Rod. I like what he's done at least a little bit. Is he extremely effective or efficient in how he gets it done in the 9th inning? No, but he has 41 saves now going into Tuesday's matchup with the Twins. So it's still saying something. And Rondon, his flame-throwing ability, being more effective with the command, with his pitches overall-wise, it's why I'm jumping on the bandwagon more and more now with Bruce Rondon and starting to trust upon him and him being used in the 8th inning, in these high-leverage situations out of the Tigers' bullpen. And I think Brad Ausmus, if he's wise at all, will start using him even more going forward. Because I don't know who else you're going to use after Alex Wilson. And then K-Rod, who's your closer. You're not going to use him outside of the 9th and maybe for a 4-out save here and there, which I don't think is extremely wise because he's not the same old K-Rod that could just throw it by you like Bruce Rondon can now. And maybe Rondon's the closer of the future. Maybe he's starting to finally develop into that type of relief pitcher that can be the closer of the future after all these years where he's toyed with us, right? Has not been healthy and has had these off-the-field issues with his antics. But there's still this to me. I know he lost some weight or supposedly lost some weight, like you supposedly lost some weight, Doc. Not trying to call you out. But Rondon, when you watch him out there, look at him. Yeah, rubbing that belly now. The old Buddha. But Rondon, do you think he really lost any weight, big time, Doc? When you look at him pitch, do you think he really did? I don't see a lot of weight loss in Bruce Rondon.
Well, maybe he just lost the weight and then gained it back in muscle. Hey, because you see,
when you watch him, you watch the games yourself. You've seen Bruce Rondon out there. Your big time, lovely relief pitcher that you love and can't talk enough about. Do you think he really has lost some weight to the extent where that he's gained it back? And if he has, he's gained it in muscle. I mean, is it pure muscle, you think, now, what you're seeing when you see that belly on him? I don't think that's pure muscle. That's more pure beer belly. That's more beer belly and maybe some tacos at 3 in the morning from Taco Bell or something. Some fast food, at least.
So you're saying here and now that you believe Bruce Rondon got big again, huh?
He's just as big. I don't think he really lost any weight. Okay. And now you're trimming on the LBs. I see some progress. You're going to keep doing that. I think Rondon has to jump on your diet, somebody else's diet, and fast track it because he's got to get. I still think he has to get in better shape than he is. Even though I like him right now, he's more effective, I still think he's missing something, and maybe because of the weight that he still carries.
So you're saying you see some issues potentially due to stamina, huh, Vito?
Stamina issues, correct.
Okay, so now you're...
As with you.
So now I have
I'm
stamina
joking.
issues?
Maybe me as well. We both do, I think. But joking here. I think Rondon, though, I think if he becomes the best that he ever can be, I think it will have to be where he loses some LBs then. To become the best that he can ever be, to reach his fullest potential, I think he'll have to shed some LBs. That's what I'm trying to say about Bruce Rondon. Not that we're trying to make this podcast about Bruce Rondon's workout regimen or his lack of an efficient diet here today, Doc. And no, I'm not trying to do that.
Well, I can tell you this. Just the one time I did earn a media credential, they feed your ass good there.
Don't they?
So imagine if you're a professional athlete, they lay out a great spread probably with rolls and, healthy foods as well. And a guy like that probably takes a couple rounds at the buffet table before dinner. Why not? Listen. All you got to say with Bruce Rondon is, can he effectively come in the game and do the job? More often than not this year, he's getting better. We're all looking for everybody in that bullpen to be a lot more consistent. And that's what this team's going to need is, the bullpen can't be such a roller coaster each and every performance, each and every guy having a situation where, Shane Green's ERA the last month is terrible. Alex Wilson, Kyle Ryan, those are guys that we throw out there. But in essence, if we lost them all, I just say start over. Every year, you would say probably you're going to pick up K-Rod's option.
Maybe. I don't know at this point. I mean,
it's a big buyout.
Really good. It's still
it's a big buyout.
At the point where you might not bring him back. If you think Alex Wilson or Bruce Rondon can do the job better next year, that's a big time question. Do you believe? How about you? Do you believe that Bruce Rondon and or Alex Wilson can do the job better than K-Rod has done in the ninth this season?
K-Rod will make $6 million next year. You have to bring him back. K-Rod for sure. Rondon you keep. Everybody else expendable.
Alex Wilson you bring back too. So you would bring back 2 guys. I'm bringing back 3. I don't care about Justin Wilson. I don't care about Kyle Ryan. I don't care about Blaine Hardy.
No, set it straight. I would keep Rondon and K-Rod.
That's it.
And start over.
Start over completely.
And
it's at that point, right? The bullpen's still not good enough. And I thought it would be. Now, you didn't. Other fans and prognosticators out there did not think it would be good enough. I thought it would be because of Mark Lowe, but where's he been? In high-leverage situations, you can't even use the guy anymore. He's been that inefficient in the 8th and other big-time innings and situations this year to the point where he's the mop-up man now for the Tigers. And how sad is that after they picked him up, and it looked like that was a wise and a shrewd move made by Alavila in the offseason.
Lowe and Wilson, when we started talking at the beginning of the year, there were guys we talked about as being guys that could turn that bullpen around, and it's just been a mitigated disaster. And you just go, well, you get back to the drawing board. Maybe you just have to go through the minor leagues or figure something out, maybe through trades. But that bullpen has to be retooled again next year. I don't think you can win a World Series with that bullpen. No. There is no way you look at those names and stack them up against Cleveland or Boston or Texas or the Cubs. There's no way that bullpen shakes out. Even versus Kansas City, that bullpen is inept. Inept at best. That's just what it is. And so now you go into, it's been announced that Justin Upton's not going to play on Tuesday. He's got a calf strain. It's a little bit concerning in that those things are lingering. You can rehab those, but those calf strains are tough. I had one playing soccer. And
when was this?
This was like about maybe 8 years ago. I used to play soccer regularly. Mm-hmm. I would, a group of guys would go out and we'd play in the field. We'd play maybe 2-3 hours on a Wednesday. And it was just regular, and by that point, I wasn't really into stretching a whole heck of a lot. So I was running around doing the thing, and I kicked the ball, and I took a step, and literally, boom, I went down. It felt like someone shot the back of my leg. That's what it felt like. And I thought I did something serious because I couldn't walk. It hurt really bad, and so I was done for the day. I went home, and I was like, oh, man, did I really have a serious strain, or did I have a big problem? And I started learning about it, that there's level 1 strain, level 2, 3, and it was just a minor. I didn't sprain my calf. I didn't dislocate anything. It hurt so bad, but for a day I couldn't walk. It was a level 1 calf strain. It was my right leg. For the better part of 24 to 48 hours, when you step, you take for granted, when you take a step and your calf hurts, forget it. I had to shuffle at a work meeting I had a training over here at the Macomb Educational Center, and I couldn't walk. I had to shuffle. It hurt so bad. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that was minor. Imagine if you got to do what Justin Upton's got to do in the outfield. That's something that if you come back too fast, you're going to cause a big problem.
You mean laying out there in the outfield and missing balls like he did Friday night? With that diving attempt that he made? You saw it.
I saw it.
He thought he had it. I thought maybe he did, but he dove prematurely. Come on, Upton. You got to slide like Maglio and get that done efficiently out there in the corner outfield. Remember Maglio? That was his kind of sliding ability and kind of just, that's what he perfected out there and made a lot of stops that way, actually. Even though he wasn't the most fleet of foot, he still got it done most of the time with that sliding ability. And now, wanted to move on to the Indians. We're talking about the Indians more and more now, and their bullpen, how good it is, and starting off now with the team as a whole, and the fact that they haven't had a losing month. Did you know this, Doc? They haven't had a losing month since April, and they went 10-11. That's not very much of a losing month either, and that was their last losing month of the 2016 campaign, Doc.
Wow.
How about that? And their bullpen has been really darn good. And it starts with the rotation, though. We know that. Now, 4 of their 5 starting pitchers before the Salazar injury had recorded up to this point in the season an ERA below 4. That's outstanding, right? Having 4 high-quality starting arms early. Now, Salazar has tailed off now in the DL. Will miss the rest of the season, the regular season at least, and probably the playoffs as well at this point. And he hasn't been efficient, but that's still 3 good starting arms in Carrasco, in Corey Kluber, in Trevor Bauer. So they need all those guys to really stack up nicely the rest of the way, too, against the Tigers and other foes to hold on to that division lead as well, perhaps, in the AL Central. But you got to trust that they will at this point. And I do, but it's also because of the bullpen, Doc. Their bullpen. Now, entering September 9th, when I wrote my preview for the Free Press, it's out there, by the way, at least I think it has been posted on Freep.com. And entering September 9th, the late-inning trio of Cody Allen, Dan Otero, and Brian Shaw of the Tribe had combined to allow a mere 48 earned runs in 176 and 2/3 innings pitched. Very high quality. And Andrew Miller, who's been used in multiple roles, as I said during our pre-show Facebook Live, he has been extremely effective in all those roles that Terry Francona, the manager of the Indians, has used the former Tiger farmhand in since he was acquired at the trade deadline by the Indians. So he has helped out, has been a big-time asset out of the Indians' pen leading up to this point. And I think he'll still be very good going forward and be effective enough to get out pretty much all the Tigers' bats in big-time situations, even though the Tigers have these potent bats. You know, J.D. Martinez, Upton when healthy, Miguel Cabrera, Vimart, and really Vimart, Miguel Cabrera, J.D. Martinez, the big 3 of that Tigers' middle of the order. Well, that's the case, but Andrew Miller is still good enough to put out the fire in any situation, really. In the 6th inning, in the 7th inning, in the 8th, in the 9th inning, against those 3 big-time bats of the Tigers, at least in my opinion. And I think he's proven that up to this point, you know, the last few seasons, and this season as well specifically, to be trusted upon against any big-time Tigers bat, Doc. So I gotta like, and I do like what the Indians have to offer in their pen as well at this point in the season. And it's a reason why I believe they will hold on to the division lead in the AL Central.
So in previous podcasts, we talked about how many games we thought that the Tigers were going to win versus Cleveland. And I'm not really sure why you're discounting the Tigers' ability to step up in key games. Now, you got to remember, once they had that terrible losing streak, everybody was off the bandwagon, and myself included. I've kind of swung wildly, but I'm, not objective. I don't care. I'm not objective. I'm a guy that's just swings wildly. I like the fact that I go off emotion. That's what makes me a real fan and somebody that can at least communicate my thoughts about it. But what happened was, at that time, when the Tigers lost that many games, you go, well, this team is probably going to, catapult themselves and have a disastrous under 500 season. They rebounded. Everybody threw them, everybody lost confidence. The fans, the media, maybe you could say. But the Tigers came back. They rallied. And since then, maybe since the All-Star break, they really haven't had too many long losing streaks. They've lost series 2-1. They've tied series. They've won series. But what you see and what is something that a lot of people are fearful of is the Tigers really aren't World Series caliber, but they should be able to get to the postseason. They're in contention. They're only 1 game out. And when you look at the schedule as a whole, when you start to prognosticate regarding what's going to happen, the Tigers' schedule is favorable. They just have to go out there and be the team that they were when they played Minnesota and the White Sox, do some damage. You're playing the Braves the last week. You have a series at home versus Cleveland. You have a chance, Vito. I think that even though you may think that Brad Ausmus is not good, Buck Showalter loves him some Brad Ausmus. He believes that, hey, the Tigers are lucky to have him, and you're lucky to cover, Brad Ausmus being the manager of the Tigers. But, I'm being facetious here. I have my doubts, and I had my doubts from day one, but my doubts are collectively as a whole. Big-time goal. Can this Tigers team win the World Series? Hell no. No chance of winning the World Series. But I do believe that the goal right now is just if you get into the postseason, hell, you got, it's equal a chance as any when the postseason starts. I think you need to have a little bit more faith that if you just adjust your goal, maybe not to win the AL Central, but to compete and try to do your best to get into that wild card spot, you have a chance. And if you can get a hot Fulmer, a hot Verlander, Norris, and Boyd, if they can get hot, we're more hoping than really objectively thinking they're going to do it. But there is still a lot of hope that this team can have maybe a chance to do some things if, some things turn out correctly.
Well, if they make a run, they got to take advantage of playing the Twins right now in these 4 at Comerica. We know that much. And they have 3 further games against the Twins after this 4-game set at home against the Twinkies. So they play, they have these 7 games total in September. And like I said, 3 more to go after this 4 games they're playing right now against the Twins. And then they have the 3 at the end of the season against the Braves. They have, after these 3 against the Tribe on the road in Cleveland, they have 4 more and 4 at home against the Tribe. So they still have a relatively favorable matchups to make a relatively favorable schedule the rest of the way this season. So I do like that. That is working in the favor of the Tigers. Big time, Doc. So you are right with that being said,
any team that features Miggy, Vmar, JD, you have a puncher's chance. You can hit that 3-run home run, and you're just going to have to do it when Cleveland comes to town. You're going to have to, perform at the highest level possible. I have faith. 5 of 7 is what I called for. I'm sticking to it. We've been pretty close to accurate with our predictions in terms of, when the Tigers are going to win and lose series. We've been pretty much okay. But I'm calling upon you to have a little bit more faith and join the side of the fanboy. It's okay.
Join the dark side? Is that the dark side? The fanboy side is the dark side now, right? Well, the thing is, though, the Indians going into Progressive Field over the weekend to play the Tribe, they have 47 wins. The Tribe do at home. So they're a very good home team. You're not going to win many games. But you have Verlander and Fulmer set to start in that 3-game set against the Tribe. So you got to like the Tigers odds at least a little bit to be able to win the series or, well, not get swept, but they kind of have to win the series. And then they have 4, at home against the Tribe. Remember, later in September. Well, they got to win that series, too, to have a chance to win the division. I don't think they're going to win the division. They're not going to catapult the Indians for the division lead in the AL Central. I still have faith. I'm very optimistic about the AL wild card. I really am. So I never said that they couldn't win that and get into the postseason via that route. And once you get into the postseason via that route, anything can happen. All bets are off, right? A team can get hot, and maybe you ride a few hot starting pitchers, such as Verlander, such as Fulmer, such as Daniel Norris. How about Norris? He's been better than Michael Fulmer of late. So that's a good 1 through 3, maybe a big 1 through 3, right, for next season too. But in this relatively small sample size of games that we have left for the Tigers to dissect them and what they can do and what they can't do, I like that big 1 through 3. And that can be a big 3 for the Tigers at the top of the rotation going into subsequent seasons as well. And that's what you have to like as a Tigers fan, that even if they don't get it done this year, they still have that makeup in the rotation even to get it done in further seasons.
Okay, now you said you had some Ian Kinsler trivia for the doc. What do you got for me? I want to see how well I can match up versus your trivia. I'm about 50% accurate. That's not bad. Right off the top of my head.
Are you 50% accurate? I think you're more like.
I'm sticking. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You got to stick to it, right? Now, I'm not going to stick to that story, but here we go. Here's a chance at redemption. Another chance for you to shine. And it's about Ian Kinsler, as you said. And the first question has to deal with the fact that he is 1 of 4 full-time second baseman now in Major League Baseball history, Doc, with 200 home runs and 200 stolen bases. Good luck trying to guess the other 3 guys that make up the 4 that have that amount of home runs and stolen bases playing second base full-time in Major League Baseball history. So these are 3, by the way, retired baseball players.
Vito, I have no clue. Go ahead.
I know, it's too tough, right? You're already done. Now, Ryan Sandberg, yeah, very much so the dial told me, because you don't know. It's hard for anybody. Even for me, I probably would not have gotten this without having some, heads up info.
You're sick.
Yeah, so I should have given you some heads up, right? Maybe some info to help you out before and leading into that question. But anyways, it is Ryan Sandberg, who played for the Cubbies, great second baseman for them. Joe Morgan of the Big Red Machine in the 70s. He was great, wasn't he? He's a Hall of Famer. Roberto Alomar, a recent Hall of Fame inductee as well, who played for the Toronto Blue Jays, played for the Cleveland Indians. Those are 3 of the 4 guys now that have 200 home runs, 200 stolen bases, or did in their Major League Baseball careers. And Kinsler he's one of those 4, so he's part of that elite class that maybe makes him a Hall of Famer. Is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. We're not going to talk about that today too much.
Okay, I'm 0 for 1. Hit me up with the next
0 for 1. Here's the next one about Ian Kinsler. He launched his 7th leadoff home run of the year last night, which is Monday night, against Irvin Santana of the Minnesota Twins. In doing so, he joined which Tiger in the most home runs in Tigers franchise history for a single season, and of the leadoff variety. Who's the other Tiger? The Tiger that he matched in leadoff home runs.
Well, the name that pops in my mind is Tony Phillips. Is that anywhere near?
He would be a big-time guy from way back in the day, from before my time, but now more recent memory.
More recent.
Who's
Curtis
still playing?
Granderson.
Curtis Granderson, you got it. So second try, I'll count that one as you getting it. So you got the second trivia question surrounding or regarding Ian Kinsler, and that's a much easier one. Can't we agree upon that? Much easier one.
Batting 500.
Batting 500 now. Very good. And now, he's a current New York Met, and he did it twice, by the way. Hit 7 home runs, leadoff, 2 times in his Tigers career, in 2007 and in 2009. So how about that fact? A nice little factoid there for you about Ian, what he's done this season with the 7 leadoff home runs, and about Curtis Granderson, Doc. And now, last one about Ian Kinsler here. He has 26 home runs going into Tuesday night's game against the Minnesota Twins. Now, it's the most he's hit in a single season since hitting 32. So I gave you the amount of home runs, but he hit the 32 in what season? Okay,
I'm going to be close, but I want to say he was pretty popular. He's been a Tiger now. This is his 3rd year, 4th year?
Since 2014, he's been a Tiger.
Yeah,
so
2014.
Yeah.
So, 2013, he fell out of favor. I know that he had a rough season in 2013. So let's say 2011.
Nailed it.
Yay!
And you didn't have a chance to look it up. I didn't give you the heads up to look it up, so you nailed it.
No, because I knew.
Off the brain.
No, because we knew when you look at the story of Ian Kinsler that he really fell out of favor in Texas.
Yeah.
They were calling him Pop-Up Kinsler. I remember some series that he had where he had some great seasons, obviously in 2011, which I got correctly. Yeah. But he then proceeded to just have a horrendous slump, and he would pop up all the time, and he lost favor with the fans, the organization. They were willing to basically give up a guy that was still, relatively speaking, in his prime, and they let him go. And it's been a great trade for the Tigers. One of Dave Dombrowski's great moves in terms of getting rid of Fielder and getting a guy back that's been on the field. I think he's only missed maybe, not even a dozen games or so.
He's everyday Ian, right? He's gotten that moniker, and I think rightfully so, Doc.
And he's a very productive player, and he's a guy that has been stepped up as a leader, and he's also got a big-time option coming up, and they're going to have to make a decision regarding keeping him or potentially extending him because, when his deal's up, he's going to be, in his mid-30s, mid to late 30s, and do you want to give additional years to a guy? But he's come out and said he wants to be a Tiger. He loves the fans, loves the organization, believes we can win, and he's been productive. Ian Kinsler makes hard plays look routine, and he's a good second baseman. We're lucky to have him.
We are absolutely, Doc.
666, baby. 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Very good. Batting average, that is, too, Doc, for you. So congrats on that. Now, I had a non-Ian Kinsler trivia question as well for you today regarding Brian Dozier of the Minnesota Twins now. He has 40 home runs, and I actually tipped you off maybe earlier when doing the pre-show thing that we did with the Facebook Live video. And I had brought up Brian Dozier and him hitting 40 home runs and setting the record for most home runs hit by a second baseman in the American League, that is, specifically. And the guy that held the record prior to Brian Dozier is whom? I'll give you the season, too.
No, it's okay. No,
you don't want the season? Now,
no.
This is the guy from way back kind of now. Now, early 2000s, so a decade plus ago, is when this guy set the previous American League home run record for a single season.
Alomar.
Not Roberto Alomar, who I brought up recently, and he played with the Indians, but not that he wasn't that prolific home run hitter. Now, who was of the Yankees in 2002? Played second base, and then became an outfielder after signing a massive contract, a ludicrous contract with the Chicago Cubbies, by the way. After he was with the Nats, with the Cubbies, after the Yankees, I forget the order exactly, was a good home run hitter. Played second base for the Yankees at one point. And then became an outfielder.
Okay.
Alfonso what?
Oh,
fill in the blank.
Soriano. Okay.
That was him. He's a guy that had the record in the American League for a single season amount of home runs.
All right.
Prior to Brian Dozier. And Brian Dozier hit his 40th home run in the third inning of Monday night off of Daniel Norris.
So to clarify, he now has the most home runs in the American League as a second baseman with 40.
As a second baseman in a single season. Most ever hit by a second baseman in a single season.
Now
is Brian Dozier.
Nice.
He owns that record.
Okay.
And who would have thought that a guy like that would own the record? But he's been the one guy that's really hit consistently, right? Still has. Or has really been productive for the Twins. Even though they can hit, they have Max Kepler. They have Joe Mauer, who had a really good month of August. But they don't have many bright spots. Their rotation, Irvin Santana, that's it. Bullpen, a few guys actually there, but their team as a whole, stinky. And they might be bad again next year unless they upgrade their rotation big time, Doc.
All right, so before we get out of here, who are the Tigers playing this weekend upcoming?
They're playing the Cleveland Indians.
Here we go.
We knew about that. We knew it'd be a big series, and it is.
3 on the road then, right?
3 on the road at Progressive Field, where the Indians have 47 victories going into this weekend at home.
Okay, so 3 out of 4 versus
the Twins. Then we have the 3 in Cleveland. So, yeah, what do you say here? What's going to happen?
They're going to be riding high. They get the first game in Cleveland. They lose the second game. Series is going to go extra innings on Sunday, and it's going to be a Tigers victory. Smashed home run by J.D. Martinez in the 13th inning. Sunday, we win the series 2 out of 3, which will propel us into that final wild card push where we will be one of those 2 teams to earn a wild card spot, baby. So we're going to have a great week this week. So we're going to play 7 games. We're going to go 4-3 this week.
For me, the Tigers win 3 out of 4 against the Twins. Already won the first game Monday night against Irvin Santana. So they win 2 more in their 4 games set at home against the Twins. And then in Cleveland, I'm going to say they only win 1. I'm the doubter, not the optimist. You're the fanboy jumping back on the bandwagon.
You didn't check my math.
I just think Cleveland is... Oh, okay. So overall, you're saying
no, my math.
We have the same, right?
No, my math is terrible. Actually,
I didn't check your math. I don't check the math. Give me it again, though.
Okay, I actually, based upon what I said, had the Tigers going 5-2 this week.
Correct, because you picked 2 in Cleveland as well. I'm 4-3. Mm-hmm. You're 5-2. So off by a game with the math.
Not bad though. Not bad.
Not bad on the math.
I caught
and
that
not
one.
a bad prediction for the Tigers because if they go 5-2, I think even 4-3 is quality. But if you lose 2 out of 3 against the Tribe, it's not quality, Doc. And really quick, we got something else to bring up. I think you forgot almost. Buster of the week and toast of the town. Do you have your toast of the town ready right now for me to hit you with? So I'll let you set the table with that.
Toast of the town, a guy that has stepped up his game, is learning on the job, and a guy that we're counting upon. When you go out there and you get 11 Ks and you're doing your thing, helping your team to a victory, Daniel Norris, toast of the town, most strikeouts in his career, a guy that has starter stuff. It's going to be a question of can he be consistent and can he control what he has to work with. So toast of the town, having a shot of Tito's and cranberry or just on the rocks. Tito's with the doc, Daniel Norris.
Tito's handmade vodka maybe as well with Daniel Norris, who had 11 Ks Monday against the Twins. Great stuff out of him. He's been great lately, hasn't he been? And better than Michael Fulmer, in my opinion, as well, and the stats kind of prove that. Now,
Buster of the week, Casey McGee. Whenever he goes up there.
I was going to say McGee or Miguel Cabrera. Who would you pick, Miguel Cabrera? No. I was looking at his stats, and I thought this was right. How many hits did he have against the Orioles, Doc? Do you know this?
2.
0.
Not 1 hit?
I'm looking at this right. 0 hits in 3 games against the Orioles over the weekend.
Oh,
he's your best slugger and no hits. He's got to be my buster of the week. And no RBIs. Nothing out of your best slugger, the best right-handed slugger of this generation. This is very bad. Not just bad, this is very bad. He's got to do better against these big-time foes coming up like the Tribe. He can't be having 0-4, 3, 0-4 nights. If he does that against the Tribe, they're going to only win that one game, win that one game. Unless, J.D. Martinez steps up, and maybe he will to win us the game. And really, in my opinion, Doc, I don't know if you share this sentiment with me, but I think J.D. Martinez in the last month, let's say now, has been the best Tigers hitter. What do you think about that? I
agree with you. What's not to agree? JD's been okay. You think that Justin Upton had a resurgence, but can carry it over versus good teams. But JD is, continues to earn accolades for being a guy that's a really solid addition to this team.
Absolutely, Doc. And with that, I will let you go. I will let our listeners go. And hopefully you guys will be able to enjoy the rest of this Twin series with a few more wins out of the Tigers. And a few more wins out of the Tigers, that means when they play the Indians too. So hopefully they have a successful road series against Cleveland, to say the least, to wrap up this week's slate of action for the Tigers. And with that, we will let you go, and we are signing off until next week. This has been Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. Have a great one, guys. Goodbye.